Hi friends, my name is Marie and I'm a part-time reseller on eBay and on Poshmark, and today I wanted to get back to basics. Maybe you are a brand new reseller, maybe you're a part-time reseller like me, or maybe you are a tried and true pro. If you are, thanks for being here. Let me know all your tips down in the comments. But I think there are some core tenets of reselling that I have found along the way of the last 3 or so years that I have been reselling that I think have absolutely improved my business, that have given me the success I've gotten even as a part-time reseller, doing this in like the little pockets of the time that I can spare. So today I'm going to share 10 of my top reselling tips that I think if you implement correctly will also help you in your business. The first one I know you have heard, but if you are like me, you might need a reminder, because as we go through this list, I'm going to be very honest about the ones that I am good at and the ones that I am bad at and the ones that I have to remind myself. And one of those is don't buy more than you can handle. This is especially important if you are one of those resellers that is brand new, thinking about getting started, maybe in your first year. It is so easy to be watching YouTube videos, to see things online, to run out to stores, to find all these gems, bring all them home, and then be like, and get overwhelmed. It can absolutely be overwhelming. It can also be really frustrating when you're buying all these things, you're thinking you're doing everything right, and then you're not seeing the sales you're expecting to see. Every single one of us has been there. I promise. If you are there, then keep listening to these 10 tips. But if I could go back as a brand new baby reseller, the thing I would implement more is this one. I got very excited. I fell into reselling by watching online content, and I was so excited to get all this stuff and start listing it. But I found that maybe I wasn't listing as high of quality items as I should have, because I was bringing everything into my house and I just needed to make sure that I got it listed. And then the death pile starts, and then it is just a vicious cycle. So I will say, you guys have heard on my channel, I do have a quote unquote death pile. Everything that comes in my door does not get listed immediately. However, I have found kind of not like an amount, but like a this part of my wall, if the shelves, if they're too full, then I need to slow down for a little bit so that I don't get overwhelmed, so that I don't get behind, so that I actually get through the stuff, so the seasonality doesn't pass. Because I might be buying things today that are in season, that are in style, and that if I don't list them for a year, we have seen that on my channel, then they might not sell. So don't buy more than you can handle, I promise. The thrift stores will be there tomorrow. Buy the best things today, go find more things tomorrow once you get through those things. Is it a problem to have a little bit of a pile set aside? I personally don't think so. But I also know what I can handle, what I can process, how long it takes me to process, so that I can be reasonable with it. Okay, number 2 is don't avoid the important stuff. We like shopping. Are there any resellers out there that don't like the shopping part of reselling? If you're one of those, let me know down in the comments, because I know you exist. But shopping is my favorite part. However, taxes, bookkeeping, putting away inventory, keeping track of your inventory, getting through items like hard goods that you don't like to sell that much. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten them in the first place. Stain treating, doing the laundry, doing the steaming, doing the measuring. Those are all things that aren't as inherently fun, at least for me, but they are just as important, if not more important. My business would not function without those things. I would be getting return claims. I would be losing items, and therefore my store performance would go down. Taxes are very important. If you do them wrong, one of 2 things can happen. You can get in a lot of trouble and owe a lot more money, or you could be paying money that you probably shouldn't be paying because you missed a whole bunch of deductions that are very important. That happened to me. This is also important as a part-time reseller, because many of us do not have these full-fledged big companies. We're just doing it as a one person. Find a tax professional that can help you. Find someone that can help set up your bookkeeping. Watch online videos about great ways that you can keep track of your inventory. There's lots of inventory systems. I have a couple videos out there about how I do my own. We're going to talk about that. The boring stuff is sometimes boring. It's sometimes annoying. Set aside some time that you're going to handle that stuff, because even if you're still making sales and you're still doing the shopping, that's great. but don't avoid the important stuff. Okay, next for me, this is especially important as a part-time reseller, but I think it is important for everybody, and that is batch, batch, batch. I have talked about this before on my channel, but if you are photographing 5 items and then listing those 5 items, but before that morning you had stain treated those 5 items, you're probably not going to have as high of a throughput in your processing time as you could, because you are switching from one task to another, to another, to another. I know this works for some people. I know some people will go to the thrift store and find their 15 items that they list, bring them home, prep them, photograph them, list them. That might work for someone that has a full day to devote to that. The only thing I do every single day for my business is list. I always list at least 5 items a day every night once my kids are in bed. Well, and hopefully I do shipping because I'm selling things. But outside of that, I do batch processing. So what that means is I will go to a thrift store once every couple weeks when I have the time in my life, get a big haul, bring it home. Then later on, maybe because one night I did my listings really quickly and I have an extra hour where I can type that big haul into my inventory. That's when I'm running the comps. That's when I'm deciding what I'm going to title it. That's when I'm deciding my price. So it's all ready in my spreadsheet for me when I go to list those items. Then sometimes on a weekend, my kids will be in quiet time. My husband is out playing with them in the yard. I will have a 2-hour photography session where I'm listing a great big haul that I have already sourced and typed into my inventory, things like that. I don't stain treat every time I have one item that needs to be stain treated. I will usually get a little bit of a pile, and then once it's annoying to me, I will stain treat all of those items. Batching to me makes my time manageable. Your body also responds well to doing the same types of tasks over and over and over. So if you're doing a batched photography session, you're going to move more quickly because you're just going to be going from one movement to the next, from one movement to the next. Find those ways that you can increase your processing time so you're not having to search all over the place. Have all of your items in one place. I have the stuff I need for photography. I have the steamer. I have the measuring tape. I have the lint roller and the little thing that gets stuff out of Velcro for shoes. It's all in one bin. I grab it. I set it there so I'm not running all over the house each time I'm doing my batch processing. Okay, this is another one, and this is one that I am still working on, and that is put emotions aside. We think of this as like, we're buying some clothes or shoes. We're not going to get that emotionally attached, right? Yes. I got an $8 offer on a $40 new tags item on eBay yesterday, and I was like, you have got to be kidding. Now, that doesn't mean put emotions aside, except the $8 offer. No, that would be a bad business practice also. But there are other times now, I didn't accept that offer. But there's other times this morning I woke up to a $15 offer on a $30 item, and I was like, man, that's terrible. That's 50%. I could get more for that possibly. But then, you know what? I put my emotions aside. I looked at my data and I was like, you know what? I've had this item for almost 6 months. I only paid $1 for it. Why wouldn't I accept that? I will still make $11 items. It was a belt. It's not like anything. It was super, super, super special. Put my emotions aside, get the return on my investment, and invest that into something else. So that doesn't mean going accepting every offer that comes in. But what it does mean is don't get so emotionally attached to something that you're like, I'm so offended. Why am I offended? We're talking about a belt. No one attacked my character. No one attacked my children, my husband. It's a belt. And maybe that was the amount of money they had to spend. And they're like, let's see what happens. Who hasn't done that? Who hasn't been there? So put your emotions aside. Look at your data. How long has it been listed? How much money did you have to pay for it? What season is it in? Is it something, I accepted something earlier this week that at the beginning of the summer, I might have countered. And I'm like, you know what? We're moving out of summer. So I don't want it to sit in my inventory throughout the entire fall, winter, and spring season. Put the emotions aside. Next, I actually am very proud of this one, and that is keep a strong inventory system. I am so happy to say that 3 years in, I have never lost an item now. I have accidentally sold an item twice because it didn't delist properly, and then I accidentally sold it on a platform. I had to cancel the sale. That does happen. It is rare, but that does happen. However, I have never just flat out sold an item and not been able to find it. And I do hear on other YouTubers' channels that does happen sometimes, and that does not make me a perfect person. I think it is just because from day one when I started reselling, I implemented an inventory system. It has worked for me, and I have stuck with it. I have bins. I'm not going to go through my whole system. I have bins in my basement that are labeled A through whatever. It was A through Z, and then I started doing A, B, A, C, A, D, and I'm up to like A, J, I think. So I've gone through the alphabet once and then like part of another alphabet. And every time after I photograph, I bag up my items, I take my laptop downstairs, I take all the items downstairs, I sit there, I take an item, I put it in a bin, and I put A in my spreadsheet in the bin column if that's where it's going. It's not perfect. Every once in a while, I will have the wrong number or I'll have the wrong letter in my spreadsheet, but it's usually always close. I can find it. So it's not foolproof, but it has worked for me. That's not to say you have to use that same inventory system, but find an inventory system that works for you, treat it like gospel, and stick to it, because canceling sales is not good, especially if you're an eBay seller. Pick an inventory system, stick to it. Okay, the next one is manage your time wisely. And this is very similar to batch, but this actually, when I'm talking about manage your time wisely, I'm not talking in this specific one about the time spent on reselling. Now, let me explain that. Yes, you need to manage the time you're photographing, sourcing, blah, 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 wisely. We already talked about that. When I talked about batch, that's talking about your time, managing it wisely. What I'm talking here is about all the rest of the time in the day. I have a full-time job. I have 2 full-time kids, a full-time husband. I have extracurriculars. We're very involved in our church. There's a lot going on in my life. And again, this does not make me a perfect person. I am so far from perfect, but I have found ways to implement other things in my life to speed things up, manage that time wisely, so that at the end of the night, I do have time to come over and do my reselling content. We have figured out a pretty good bedtime routine with the kids. Now, that is far from perfect because they are children and we love them, but my gosh, what are we going to do? You know, sometimes this doesn't always work, but for the most part, we try to manage that time wisely so that usually by 8 or 8:15 or so, that part of my day is over and then I can focus on the reselling content. There's other things that I do with my grocery prepping, with my meal prepping, things that help me manage the rest of my personal life time wisely so that I can then do my reselling. That's even true for my full-time job. I know I don't talk about my full-time job, but it is very demanding. And I do oftentimes have a lot of extra hours. I'm sometimes called in after hours. That happens, and that job is first. The people I work with know that that job comes first. But they also know I'm going to be 100% at that job. But as much as I can, I manage my time wisely during that job so that as much as possible, I can leave on time at the end of the day and sometimes come home and have an hour to do some extra listings before I have to go pick up from daycare, things like that. If I had managed my time less wisely throughout the day at my full-time job, I might have had to stay longer to get the work that needed to be done. And I will stay longer because that is a very important job. But if I manage wisely, and if there's no other added factors that I cannot control, I can leave on time. I can go to Goodwill for 30 minutes, maybe before I need to pick up my kids. So this is kind of an overall concept. If I have absolutely been that person that like, it's a stressful day. I put the kids to bed. I sit down in the chair and I am scrolling Instagram for like 20 or 30 minutes because who of us has not done that? And you know what? I'm not even telling you not to do that because there is a time and place for that. Or for books, or for hobby, or watch the TV, whatever it needs to be. I personally listen to a lot of podcasts about what's going on in the world. Those things are good. You need some of those. But if every single day when my kids are in bed, I'm scrolling Instagram for 30 minutes, that's 30 minutes where I could have listed 5 to 10 items. Manage your time wisely. All right, here's another one that sometimes I'm good at and sometimes I'm bad one. So number 7 is look up everything. And when I say everything, I mean like most of it, right? It is very easy to be like, oh my gosh, I found Anthropology, or oh my gosh, I found Madewell, or like, we talk about this a lot on my channel, you get brand blind. I get brand blind. I find something and then I am less concerned about the size, or I'm less concerned about the style, or sometimes I'm not as concerned as I should be about the condition. Those are all factors that should weigh in just as much most of the time. There are some brands that like, sure, I would buy a dirty sock from. Those are just as important as what it says on that brand tag. And when you look things up, you should be looking up sell-through rate. I've actually been talking about this in my comments quite a bit, responding to some things. Sell-through rate, when I talk about looking up sell-through rate, I'm literally just talking about going on eBay, typing something in, seeing how many active listings there are. Let's say there's 100 active listings, filtering to sold on eBay, and then seeing how many sold listing there are. If there are 100 sold listings, that is a 100% sell-through rate. If there are 5 sold listings and 100 active listings, that is a 5% sell-through rate. So you want the sold listings number to be bigger than the active listings, or close. Like a 50% sell-through rate, there's 50 sold and there's 100 listed, I will probably buy something like that. The point is find where you're comfortable. If you're seeing 0 sold listings, 10,000 active listings, don't buy the item. Just please don't. You can do this on Poshmark too. You can't get as mathy on Poshmark because they don't give you numbers. But if you're typing in a specific style, the Anthropologie Sasha dress, I don't even know if that's a thing, and I'm seeing tons and tons of little pictures that are active on Poshmark, and then I flip to sold and I'm not seeing any, that's bad news bears. But the same, if I go and I look at active listings and there's a few or there's not many, and I go to sold and there's tons of them, that's a good sell-through rate. I will buy that item if it's in good condition and a good size and all of those things. So look things up at the store when you're sorting. There are some things that now I don't really need to look up because I'm familiar with the style, or I'm familiar with the brand, I'm familiar with something. However, I will every once in a while check in and look it up to make sure that things haven't changed. Got it? Okay, this one is important for me. I hope it's important for you. I know this one is difficult to implement, and we'll talk about that. But this one is have a support system. So for me, that is my spouse, my husband. I don't know if I could do this in any way as successfully without him. We do work full-time jobs, so I understand that we are not living and dying by my reselling income. I want to be fully upfront with that. My reselling income is going straight into investments accounts or vacations for my children. That's just what we've decided to do with it. We don't live day by day on that. But in addition to just the straight monetary part of it, my husband is often doing things with the kids while I am photographing or something like that. Now, I still spend tons of time with my kids. Don't worry, they are still the priority. But having him as a support system, even though he's not, I see some YouTubers that their husbands are like stain treating, or their husbands are coming along and filming videos. That's not my husband's thing, and that's totally fine. I never wanted to make him be immediately involved in my business, but he is involved because he is so supportive. He's always asking me. He's always, excited when I have big sales, and he is involved in other ways. He was literally just vacuuming as I was getting ready to do this video. Now, this does not mean you have to have a spouse for that to be your support system. That could be friends, that could be parents, that could be grandparents. Maybe you don't have children. That could just be other people in your life that want to go thrifting with you. Morgan, the friend that I include her as part of my support system. She's fun. She comes along. She helps me find something. So find those people in your life that are supportive of your business. And maybe all it is, hey, how are your sales this week? How are you doing? Do you need anything? Do you want to go thrifting today? It can be so, so simple. If you have grandparents, you have that neighbor that are like, hey, can I take the kids to the park for a couple hours? And you can catch up on some death pile. It really makes a big difference, especially as a part-time reseller when I have very limited amounts of time in my day to get done with reselling. If I have that extra hour or two in a week that I wasn't expecting to devote into my business, oh gosh, I feel like I can get so much done. Okay, we only have 2 more left. Number 9 is stay curious. And if you were watching this video right now, I would count this as check, as my daughter would say, check, for this one. Stay curious just means keep learning, keep understanding, keep fact checking the things in your brain. Like when I said I don't always look everything up, but every once in a while I will go back and see how is that brand still performing. That is staying curious. It's basically doing your research, having market research processes. And yeah, that can be as simple as watching others' YouTube videos, watching Jack and Ryan over on Jack Valentine's channel. They put out fall trend alerts, watching those types of videos, scrolling through some of the big brands, the Tucker Nucks, the Anthropologies, the Free Peoples of the world, scrolling through the website sometimes. What is the current trends? What are they selling? What are the materials? What are the colors that are in trend right now? Maybe it's, you're walking through the mall with your teenage daughter shopping for school supplies, and you're looking at the storefronts to see, what are they going to be selling this upcoming season? It's just taking in things all around you. Like, I remember when we went to Disney last year, I spent the whole trip very much enjoying Disney and wrangling my children, but also just looking at the footwear that everybody was in, just to see, okay, what are the average people actually wearing? Right? We talk about what's in trend and what's going to make us $100, but also what are people right now in the mall or at work wearing? At work, I'm constantly just people watching, and I'll be like, ooh, Hoka's, or ooh, those are Clarks, or ooh, I wonder what those are. Stay curious, because it really does matter. I really have used a lot of what I gather. I mean, almost everything I've learned from the internet, from searching for things when I am trying to figure out, I remember Googling how to look up sell-through rate on eBay and watching videos, short videos that people have made for that. Stay curious, keep learning, and keep doing your research. Okay, and last but not least, and this one I think is so important, is find the fun. Yes, that's what I said, find the fun. For me as a part-time reseller, this would also be true if I was a full-time reseller. I don't think I could do this type of job day in and day out if it wasn't in any way fun. And even though jobs like this start out fun, we get to go shopping. I love shipping packages. I have always loved the post office. I actually have a really large stamp collection. I know I've never talked about that. So I go to the post office all the time as a kid. I have a lot of foreign stamps. I have a lot of really old stamps. I have a stamp worth almost $2,000. I've loved the post office. I like wrapping packages. I always had a pen pal growing up. Those things are fun for me, but when you're doing them all the time, or especially if sales are slow or things aren't going well, or you have a claim approved on Poshmark, that drags all of us down. That's another one. Don't put aside emotions. Don't take it personally if things get approved on Poshmark or on eBay. Find the fun. What is going to keep you energized? For a lot of us, that is shopping. It is very fun because we get that dopamine rush. For a lot of that is selling. When things actually sell, you get that mini dopamine rush. When you look at your phone and you hear the cha-ching from eBay, that is a dopamine rush. But outside of that, what other things can make it fun? My daughter has been helping me do more and more stuff, and so I'm rewarding her in her own way. And as she grows, she will actually receive physical money for it. That is fun for me. For me, this one's debatable. I know a lot of people would say not to do this, but since I'm part-time, and since basically I don't really have a lot of opportunity to do other hobbies right now, just trying to keep my normal life running, that I've talked about, I have a PC monitor, and then in front of it, I have my laptop. So when I am listing at night, I'm sitting with the laptop here and the big PC behind, and I'm watching something, listening to something. A lot of times it's podcasts that I can just listen and focus on what I'm doing. I've been saying I've watched rewatching Rain from the CW. That's fun for me. A lot of times when I'm photographing, I will set my laptop up on it and I will watch a reseller video. I'm mostly listening because I'm focused on photographing. But those things are fun for me. And maybe it slows me down 5%. I don't know, pick a random percentage that if I was just focusing on it, maybe I could list 6 items a day instead of 5. And that's a good argument. But what I know is that if I lose that fun, none of it will be worth it for me. It will be a chore every single night. Whereas right now I'm like, oh, I get to watch another episode of Rain. Let's go list. So find those things that can keep you engaged. I would advocate that even if it slows you down a tiny bit, especially for someone like me that is not solely dependent upon this income, I know all of our situations are different. Find the fun that keeps you engaged, that keeps making you want to come back. Stain treating is a little bit fun for me because I like seeing the finished product, hopefully, that the stain came out. So I'm going to keep multitasking while I'm listing. I understand it might slow me down a little bit, but it's better than me completely burning out, not getting my listings done, or quitting altogether. All right, friends, those were my 10 items, but the list does not stop here. So what I need you to do down in the comments, What are some of your top tips that I've forgotten or that I didn't have room to put in this video? Let's keep the conversation going. Let's learn from each other. I want to know your tips, and then everybody else go read the comments to see what other people are putting down there. I love how tight and supportive the reselling community is. We have plenty of haters on the internet that think resellers are the scum of the earth. We all know that. So we need to band together. We need to help each other out. We can be each other's support system, right? Find your support system. We can include each other in that category. So let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much. I hope this video was helpful. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I'm trying to find more of these like informational type videos that we are going to do in the future. So if you have any recommendations, let me know down in the comments. Please give this video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.